this is a great segue because TouchDesigner and StreamDiffusion are basically like this, and it's really fun what you can do just by creating some pretty simple networks. And so I think right now what you guys have seen is just a particle brush, which is this thing right here. But the cool thing is that, yeah, it really works super well. And, you know, with it being real time, there's a lot of exploration that you can do simply just from having such a simple like brush effect, right? And hopefully today I can give you guys a quick rundown and sort of really you know, explain all of the small parts of my TouchDesigner project so that I can like basically let you guys know that like this stuff, it really cool stuff can emerge from pretty simple ideas. And like one of my favorite things is like, you know, because this is just all prompt based, I have these like files, text files right here that take in just like, yeah, any sort of text. And with that, you can easily change your prompts, and you can get just like infinite amounts of fun, abstract, playful visual effects. And yeah, so before I get into the patch, maybe I'll go through a bit about the UI. So first things first is the step size. And a step size, the best way that I can describe it is how much it adheres your input image. So this one right here, right? How much, the higher a step size, the higher it will like adhere to the shape of your input image. So if you have something like 14, now it's like very, very, very close to like my brush position. It's actually so close that it kind of like is taking too much influence of my input image, and then you get like this very noisy, grainy effect because my particle system is pretty noisy. But if we have a lower step size, then it can really, it doesn't really need to adhere. It can just sort of have more.
We had a question.
Oh,
is there LoRa support?
Sorry? Oh, is there LoRa support? Yeah, so in this here, yeah, there is, you can open up your own LoRa's and you can use them as well. So if you want more like specific visuals, that's totally an option too. Yeah, any other questions? Okay. Great. Anyways, yeah, so a lower step size just means that there's more, I guess the word is more abstractness, maybe, if that's the like a good way to say it. But yeah, control net kind of does the same thing. A higher control net basically makes it adhere more to the input, which is this, and then a lower control net gives more interpretation for the AI model to have. Maybe like a creativity meter. But yeah, another thing that's really fun though, I think, is that because this is all real time, something that you can do is you can draw an image and then there's a seed. And if you don't know much about AI or stream diffusion, all the images that are being generated are based off of a seed. It's just like a random number generator, and the seed determines that output. And so one thing that you can do is you can like live change the seed and kind of have this seamless transition between two different visuals, which I think is really fun. And so that's just like another layer of like customizability and just like variety that you can have. And right now I kind of just have it as a button. but you can quite literally go and like you could put this on a timer, or you could put this on like something audio reactive, and or like, you know, really go crazy with like what controls this trigger. And yeah, I think that's something that I really enjoy about this like real AI model visual generation, is that everything that you want to change, you can see it update in real time, and you don't have to wait or anything. But yeah, let's see. So that's basically the stream diffusion part for now. But what I want to go into first is maybe just this brush comp. And so this is basically the meat of the input visual, and it's pretty simple. I would say that all you have to try to think about is just like what a particle system is. And a particle system is a starting position, right? And then you have some sort of movement. And this movement is based off of random noise. But you can change this to be anything. Here, I'm just like multiplying it by some very small amount, so it kind of just like drifts. But like if I were to, you know, change the seed, then things would go differently, or I can increase the amplitude and now it moves faster. But all it is just every single particle in my particle system, this starting thing right here, is being moved by some amount in here. And that's great because now you just have like a bit of animation purely off of this super simple loop. And this loop, right, we reset it with this brush. And this brush takes in my mouse data, and then it gives me a white pixel. And then this white pixel, this white square, kind of goes into this matte top. And this matte top, essentially what it does is it resets all of the white particles in my system. And so to get a better image of what's going on, is this is my particle system, but I have all of these get reset to my original grid position whenever I draw. And the reason why you don't see any of these particles out here is because I have a scale and a color that's based off of my brush. And so you'll see that as I draw on my brush, the white is like the brightest, which is like the most alive. And then as they fade out, they die. And that's why you don't see any of them. And the color is another thing. It's just based off of the lifespan of each particle. And yeah, that's about it. All it is in here is just a way to process my mouse data. And so this UV, or this panel right here, takes in values between 0 and 1 based on of how far I am on my based off of how far I am in the square. And so right here I'm at, you know, almost 1 1 because I'm on the upper right, but then 0 0 on the bottom left. And this is great because I can convert this and then I can just draw it onto a rectangle. And then this rectangle now just matches my mouse location. And from there, I can build a brush. And so right now, you can't really see it that it's a brush, but that's because I have to use this feedback loop to sort of give it a trail. And so down here, this is what the trail looks like. But, you know, I have this level here to make that like dying out effect happen. But I can also turn that off. And then I have an actual brush. And because this is only determining the life, we have the particles slowly moving away. But they're always visible because remember that this scale determines how alive my particles are. So if I turn that off, then they start to fade. And now all of them go to black. So that means they're gone and we can't see them anymore. But yeah, and then so from there, right, I render this out, and this is like a very common thing to do once
there.
you have. Sorry.
A quick question.
Yeah.
8 lines saying, I'm curious about how you do with cloud presets.
Sorry, I can't hear you very well.
I know, sorry, there's heck of them. I was curious how you do it with the cloud process.
You keep on cutting out. I'm not too sure. Could you type it in the chat? I'm not too sure what you mean by a cloud process. Do you mean like server side instead of client based? If I could get clarification with that, I can answer that. But yeah. Anyways, so in TouchDesigner, there's a pretty common idea of geo-instancing. And what that means is that all of these particles are information. They're data points. And so we use those data points to make these little triangles. And with those triangles, we can render them out. And now we have a bit of like color. Or now we have an image. And now this image, because we have this, we can composite it with some noise. And all of this noise adds to our StreamDiffusion input. And something that's really important to like realize if you're working with StreamDiffusion or any sort of like real-time AI model, in my opinion, the more noise, the better, but it has to be good noise in the sense that it has to be intentional. And so what I mean by that is that I think people talk a lot about how like real-time AI visuals are kind of like random and you don't have that much control. And I think part of that is true, but I think that you can really customize noise. In what I did here was what I wanted more of like a ripping effect whenever I had certain AI visuals. And so when I have this input, right, I can multiply this with my brush effect. And then what I get is I get like these particles, but then I also get these little bits of like noise, and all of those together make my like enrich my output. And I think that a really good way to demonstrate that is maybe this one. But yeah. So that's something that you want to keep in mind whenever you're putting stuff into a real-time AI model like StreamDiffusion. It's good to play around with colorful noise, because if I were to just input just like a particle system, like a regular particle system, I feel like it would be not as interesting. It'd be a lot more flat, which I want to be like, yeah, I want it to be more interesting. But yeah, so that's just the brush comp, and like that's it. I think that, you know, if you don't understand TouchDesigner, it might be pretty confusing, but that's okay. We'll have future workshops where I will end tutorials that will like go through how to build something like this. But in the grand scheme of like TouchDesigner things, this is like a pretty simple project that you could make in like you can whip this up in like 20 minutes. But yeah. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to go into more of this UI at the bottom. And so one of the things that I think is great about StreamDiffusion and like real-time AI is, if I freeze this right here, right? All of these prompts, they get a weight, right? So all of these prompts here have a weight. And when we start off at 1000, that means that we're at this prompt right here, which is flames, plasma, electricity, explosion. And what you can do is you can decrease one of the weights and then increase the other weight. And when you do that, you get this really seamless transition in between two visuals. And so this bar kind of travels through 4 prompts. And then this white circle kind of indicates where I am between the 2 prompts that exist. And so right here, I have like this middle between flames and mossy. And then here, I think is like one of my favorites. Sometimes if your prompts, and again, you have to be intentional behind what prompts you want to travel in between, because if I were to say like, oh, give me 50% of a dog and 50% of a like cyborg, you know, humans might be able to understand like the middle point, right? But a AI model will not really understand what 50% dog and 50% cyborg is, right? Because cyborg is like futuristic, you know, like cyberpunk, grungy, you know, all that sort of, and then dog is like cute, plushy, you know, like all of these things. So like they're kind of far away in terms of like how you describe them. But if you have like, if you can figure out what works, then you get these really cool effects when you're in between 2 prompts, where it really does seem like I'm in between like mushroom spores and like outer space. And I think that that's really, really fun. And you can, you know, it just depends on your experimentation. And yeah, so like, if I like paint with this now, and then I can keep on going, and then whoa, now we're like outer space. And then for some reason I decided I wanted SimCity, but that one doesn't do too well in terms of like interpolating in between. Maybe a little bit, but yeah. But for the most part, how this works is essentially it's all into here. And so in this box right here, I just have some simple UI like logic to check if my mouse is on this bar right here. And so when it does, then I am within this this location. And so there we go. Otherwise, when I click on it, it doesn't work. But when I'm here, it works. And with that, I can process a bunch of more information, like my slider position, and then also my circle position. And this is just some basic math. And then in here, what I do is, well, I have 2 parts here. So the first part is I take in my prompts. And my prompts here, they're kind of separated, kind of funny, but I wanted everything to be in one single file. So I have my prompts here, and then I have an underscore. And then this is my my step size, and then this is my control net size. And this, when we get that, here I have a way to process all of my data. And so here, this becomes my prompts, and then here, this becomes my step size and my control net. And so that's one of the things. Another part is I wanted a way to make sure that my weights were correct. And how I did this was just with some Python code. And it's simply just, it's located in here. Or no, not in here. And here. And it's a bit of math, but I'm pretty sure you can, yeah, just like put this into ChatGPT and like get it. They're pretty good at being able to write Python for you in TouchDesigner. But the logic is just basically, okay, well, if I'm between 0 and 1, then I'm at index 1. If I'm between weight 1 and 2, then I'm at index 2. And then if I'm between 2 and 3, then I'm at index 3. And that helps me with changing the UI. So this index, right? So this index 1 maps to these, and then these map to this. The index 2 maps to these two prompts, and then index 3 maps to all of this. But all of these are sort of just controlling the different, what's the word? The different conditions that my stream diffusion can take in. And you can see them in here, right here. So, oh, and then one more thing, sorry, go back into here, is I also wanted the interpolation of the step size and the control net. So this code right here is doing that as well. And so now all of this is seamless. And so all of it, none of it is like jumping and like, you know, when you're scrubbing down this line, you'll be able to figure out, you'll be able to see every single change. But yeah, and then let me see. I think from there we can look into, oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is the control net. So let me go into maybe here, draw a little bit, like so. So this is the control net right here. And the control net is basically just a black and white photo of my particle brush. And if I were to just change this, you'll see that if I increase this control net weight, you can really see the contours of my brush now. It doesn't look very good though, but you know, it's adhering very much to my input image. And sometimes you want a little bit of that. And sometimes you want none of that. And if you want none of that, then you get like complete abstract. But you know, you can just adjust it to your liking. And then here we can see it. And then another one that I wanted to show off was, yeah, the step size. And so the step size, again, if I have none, there's not much of a visible, there's not much of a visible correlation between these two, maybe very subtle, but if I increase the step size, now I have something that's very much adhering to my input. And yeah, and like I said, it gets pretty grainy. So, you know, it kind of looks good, but you know, it's up to your interpretation. I like my particle system stuff a little bit more abstract. But yeah, so those are what the control and step size do. And then, yeah. And then another thing I want to show off is in here. So the buttons, here we have our next seed button. And the great thing I think about this entire, like doing all of this is in TouchDesigner is you get to create a lot of cool UIs for yourself. And so all of this is built in natively within TouchDesigner. I didn't like import anything new, and it's just a system that I press a seed, and then it triggers a transition. And the transition is just me adding these two together and then updating it to the next, like so. But yeah, and oof. Yeah, cool. Anyone have any questions so far?
Okay. We do have some questions.
Okay.
We have well, I'll ask you the 2 questions, and then I do want to do some announcements, and then we'll finish up with the Q&A. So from 8 lines, we have a clarification. He said, or they said, I shouldn't say pronouns. They said, if Daydream supports cloud generation and I want to add a LoRa, do I have to upload it to your server, or do I require a GPU to run LoRa on a local machine, similar to what Eric suggested? Does that make sense to you?
So from what I believe, we're currently doing server-side. We're trying to implement server-side for both the StreamDiffusion component right now, right here. And this one right here, right now, it's client-side, so it's using my GPU. I believe if you were to want to use LoRa's, then you would have to update, but I'm not entirely sure. I've only worked client-side at the moment.
Awesome. Yeah. So the for folks who are interested, if you want like a hosted version, that is what the Daydream API will be. So I think you are running this on your local machine, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. The other question I'll ask before we do the announcements is from Cosmic Crafter. Are you doing this right now through the Daydream API?
No. So again, this is all client side. We're currently developing, I believe, a newer, the server side. But this is all still local.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to do some quick announcements, then I'll bring you back up, Andrew, to finish out if there's any more questions.
Sure.
Awesome. So thanks everyone for joining. It's so great to see so many folks in the server, as well as watching on Twitter and YouTube. But we have the Daydream API. There's a wait list. So if you're a builder and you're interested in a service that allows you to run StreamDiffusion and get that computation done through our service, scan the QR code, tell us a bit about yourself, and we will eventually be releasing it for folks to enjoy. So if you're a builder, you're interested in building on this. Thank you, Meta DJ. Oh yes. If you're interested in building with the Daydream API, that can enable you to do a lot of the cool stuff that we're showing today and more, of course. Sign up to this now. The other announcement I have is that we just hit 1,000 Daydreamers in the server. We have a referral campaign currently running. You can check the announcements. That is $2.50 per referral. And again, I know if it's a bot, so do not bot the server. Please bring in real people interested in real-time video AI. So that is, a big accomplishment, and thank you everyone who's been referring. Thank you everyone who's been engaging. Additionally, we'll be doing a follow-up next week on this workshop where we'll be, actually running through getting TouchDesigner set up for people who are new to it, and people who are more experienced, working through the workflow and, figuring out how we can improve it, how we can iterate on it, what ideas for content people have. So, yeah, please check that out. And do we have any other announcements? Give me 1 second. I do not think we have any other announcements. But if you do have any final questions for Andrew, drop them in the server, in the voice channel, and we will bring Andrew back up and get them answered. Welcome back, Andrew.
Hey.
Okay. So do we have any other questions for Andrew? Feel free to drop them in chat. And Carlotta, please switch back to Andrew's screen share. Awesome. Thank you.
So I think at the end of all of this, something that I just want to, I hope that people can take out of me showing this off is that we can kind of put whatever we want into real-time AI, right? I think that when I first started to make these visuals, or when I first started to see real-time AI, a lot of it was just like video filters or like face filters, you know? But one thing is that this model can take in a lot of visual inputs. And I think that that's really interesting because at every single point of your network, you have like customization. And not only is it customization, but it's real-time customization. You get to witness it change right before your eyes. And yeah. And so like what I mean by that is like, okay, if I wanted to change the input, I can change my input, right? But you know, I can also just go into any other part of my process, right? So like I like to think about my workflow in steps of like the left hand side, right? Like left hand side, and then there's like this middle part, and then there's this output right here. And yeah, like here when I'm changing the input, it's like I'm changing my left hand side. But I can also go into like the middle part, which might be the UI of it all. And I can change it in here and see what I can get, right? And then one other thing I can do is, well, I can also get an output, right? This output I can also change. And I think that there's a lot more you can do on that as well. You could add like something like a bloom, for example, and like make it glow a lot. Oh, wait, hold on. Is this the right one? Wrong one. There it is. So in here, we could do something like this and add a bloom and get a bunch of glowy. And it might be really washed out, but that's because I'm doing this on the fly. And you might have to, you know, find your own strategies to like make sure that your visuals look good all the time. But oof, that's really bright. But the idea, right, is that like, okay, every single step there's customization, and all of it is happening in front of your eyes. And I think that that's really important because that means you can carve your own expertise, right? It's not like there is some handbook that you have to follow, and if you don't follow it one for one, then things start to crash and things don't work anymore. And then because when things crash and things don't work out the way that you want to, it's very discouraging. But this type of exploration, there's no wrong way to approach it. You can go into it how you would like, and yeah, hopefully we can, you know, hopefully in the next coming weeks, you know, you can tell your friends about it. You can participate in more workshops. This one is just a workflow breakdown, but you know, I also want to plan on teaching how to build these UIs, how to build these brush comps, how to like understand.
We do have a question in chat.
Sure. What's
So
up?
the question is, what will be the minimum GPU requirements? I think Ika's referring to this specific workflow, but you can also expand it if you know, I know you've worked on a ton of different ones.
Yeah. So I have a 4070 NVIDIA. And it gets me, like all of these get me around 8 frames per second for the output of real-time AI. I find that, you know, 8 FPS, it doesn't sound like a lot, but to me, like when I'm working with it, it's like, it looks pretty good. Like I feel like diminishing returns in terms of FPS is like quite significant with real-time AI, at least for now. But yeah, it's a 4070 NVIDIA RTX, and I think that's not a high, like I think that's like a pretty I'm actually not too sure. I'll have to double check that one. But you can also, that's why we're like building like these server-side platforms, right? And so when you have those, right, you can just build something very simple in TouchDesigner and then stream that into our platform. And like, it doesn't even need to be in TouchDesigner. You could also just, do video or, other coding languages. Yeah.
Yeah, and to add, I have a 4090 laptop NVIDIA card, and that one has done me quite well. Especially, we didn't talk about it today, but there's also an open source project that that is being built by Livepeer called Comfy Stream. So that one, it's a little bit more computationally intense, and 4090 was like, I think, the entry point for there. But again, the point of the API, the Daydream API, is so if folks don't have that local computation power, that you can get access to it at an affordable rate. So yeah. Any other questions for Andrew? Okay, so Andrew, so Aika said, I have a 1060 with 6 gigabytes and couldn't get it to run at all. That's why I asked. And I do think that that's probably like too.
Yeah, I'm not the most computer savvy guy, but 1060 sounds pretty low. Yeah. So that's the thing with StreamDiffusion client side local. You need a gaming laptop. You need to have a GPU, and GPUs unfortunately are not the most affordable things. And that's why we're trying to develop, server side so that anyone can use it. So, even I could use it, or like, your friend could use it. Like, even if you did have a GPU, maybe you just wanted to build something quick on like a tiny little laptop, like, yeah.
100%. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, of course, Aika, for the questions, and also 8lines for the questions. A lot of good ones today. If we don't have anything else, again, we will be having a follow-up event, and we'll post about this probably early next week. Andrew's going to get us a more, not digestible, I don't know what word you want to use, Andrew, but a workflow that people can like load into TouchDesigner and start to work with and play around with. So we'll do a more interactive session in the server next week. Yeah, anything you want to add there, Andrew?
Not really. Tell your friends.
Yeah, tell your friends. And again, thank you for the massive turnout today for our first official event. It was such a good turnout. Again, thank you, Andrew, for all of your talent and bringing that to the community. And let's switch back, Carlotta, to the QR code. And anything you want to wrap up with, Andrew, or you're good to drop?
I hope people are able to attend. I'm looking forward to teaching TouchDesigner more. I think that if you are someone who is in the TouchDesigner realm and also have like dabbled with the real-time AI stream diffusion stuff, there's a lot of like tutorials off of vibes, and I think that that's great. But I also want people to know what they're building and can really customize more intentionally, and that's what I'm hoping to do. I love the software very much, and all of the things that you can do with it. It's just like an added bonus. And this one, yeah, I just really hope that other people can get into it. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.